Hello, my name is Ariking Omini, the host of the World Teacher TV on YouTube. It is created to educate the world about events and issues and experiences and histories that are affecting the world today. Before I elucidate on today's topic, I'd like to share my personal experience with you. On the 14th of May, 2018, when I went to the gym to work out, after 30 minutes into the training, I went out onto the balcony to catch my breath. It was as if something was telling me, look up, look up. I looked up and behold, cut out from the clouds in my very eyes was a map of Nigeria. Being elated, I called out on a German friend, telling him, look, look, that is a map of Nigeria. Wow, that's Nigeria's map, he asked. Yes, I replied. Soon after that, the image collapsed into the vaporous clouds. Exactly a month after that event, on the 14th of June, 2018, I saw a dream where the map of Africa appeared. On it was written the heart of Africa. Soon, various maps of countries took shape on the larger map of Africa. And from it emerged the map of Nigeria that grew larger and larger. Soon after that, I heard voices of two American companies executives of Google and Coca-Cola who said clearly, Washington is no longer viable. The heart of Africa is now the heartbeat of the world. Nigeria is the new maker and capital of the world, and Africa is the mega superpower of the world, the only one. Still in the dream, I found myself in Nigeria. The country was full of skyscrapers, shining ones, like what you see on science fiction. I saw many people, both white and blacks, who wanted to become Nigeria's citizens. Boko Haram had ceased to exist. Neither was there any religious differences. Still in the dream, the British government wrote to African leaders telling them, we are also Africans, while urging them for land to build their cities on the continent. Then I got disconnected. After that dream, I carried out an extensive research regarding the nature of truth about Nigeria and the time philosophy of Africa. And I realized that the time of Africa is generally expected to begin at the year 2030. This time marks the beginning of a new order on earth that will stretch for the next 35 years minimum and a maximum of 1,000 years when all things become one again. It is a time marking the beginning of a new golden age for Africa, the place of the sun, and the world. 2028 is a timeline for the next major geopolitical changing gear, the grinding and silencing of the elitist governing system of the world, to reboot or resurrect on the third year, 2031, being the rebirth of the original nation and the root of civilization, Africa, after 6,000 years of its fall. Before I go deeper into Africa, I want to talk about Nigeria. As the maker, Nigeria, Bantu as the origin of civilization, and the holy land of the future, in my research, I realized that the Bantu, the Niger-Congo language-speaking people originated and spread from the area around the south of Nigeria and the southwest Cameroons. The word Bar or Oba means God or king, while Ntu means people. Together you have the people of God or the royal people who worship Bar or Baal. Baal interpreted as the one or king from the leopard comb, being the Canaan god in that region after the flood. You see, most of the history told us today is rooted in the mystical principle of reversal to confuse the world. What if I told you that apart from the fact that Bantu conquered sub-Saharan Africa, they may have been the builders of the civilization of the Nile Valley and other old empires of the Middle East, such as Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, Sumeria, Phoenicia, Greece. They were all the same people that came from one origin, bearing the same history as they journeyed through the Sahara and the Arabian desert. According to history, Aba or Eba was the Adamic language which came from Bantu. Bantu may have been the original tribe of Noah and his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Eber or Abba is sometimes referred to in the classical writings as the father of the prehistoric original Arabs who lived in the Arabian Peninsula after the deluge, the forebear of Abraham. Eba is the most popular food in Nigeria today, and Aba is the most popular Igbo city in Nigeria, in the southeast of the country. Eba is also the ancestor of the Hebrew nation, which is also Igbo in Nigeria, used to interchange the same word. A people that live in the southeast of Nigeria, the area Bantu civilization started from. What if the Hebrew tribe itself was from Nigeria and never from the Middle East? Just as Canaan himself, as descendant of Ham, was also Bantu, not the Middle East. What if all the stories told us about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all came from Nigeria and not the other way around? Even the name Jacob or Yakubu is a Nigerian name. Just like the stories of Nimrod and the Tower of Babel, also referred to as the Tower of the Leopard King of the Black Panther, told throughout the ancient Middle East from Egypt to Babylon, also came from Bantu. Today's countries and states with the prefix and suffix bar include Bahrain, Berlin, Cuba, Dubai, Lebanon, Juba, Mumbai, Baghdad, and a host of others. History put the Bantu as a 5,000-year-old tribe. What if it was older, like 7,000 years, or 35,000 years, or much older than that? Bantu or Aba tribe, also known as the Shabas, with its prefix Ba, is believed to be the last surviving tribe on earth from the lost world, from which all the races in the world today sprang from, including the Europeans and the Asians. Even recent research in the Harvard University concluded that the Caucasoid race may have been recent, putting its origin at about 6,000 years ago, just about the time after the fall of Babel in the area today known as Nigeria. Recent findings in the New Scientist put the Nigerian Yoruba genetic hominid as being rare and its DNA being connected to the Neanderthals of about 500 to 700,000 years ago. In the Cameroon, still from Bantu, formerly a one nation with Nigeria until 1960 when it was separated, they have the R1b gene, which is carried by most Europeans and Asians. Even Ramesses, the Egyptian pharaoh's genes, were traced to the Bamileke ethnic tribe, still Bantu origin. Therefore, if the original world power being Bantu or Babel worshippers of Baal, also known as Juju mystery religion, existed in Nigeria, it's logical to expect that it will be the last world power to unite Africa as well as bring restoration, purification, and balance to the world. In other words, from it came all the ills and differences in color, and from it will also come balance and oneness to earth. The sun god Baal, mystery religion or Juju, is in itself nestled in the Leopard society of West Africa, the root of all mystery religions and royal bloodlines. Many historians have found that Nimrod, meaning one from the leopard come, King Nebuchadnezzar, and the Egyptian, Hittite, Akkadian, Grecian, and Assyrian kings all wore the leopard skin as a symbol of royalty, a tradition carried along from West Africa after the fall of the Tower of Babel or Ba. Though it's been said, technological development, including writing, mathematics called Abasi, glass, the wheel, agriculture, irrigation, farming emanated from the old civilization of the Middle East. What if they were all carried along with other traditions? For example, by the Nubians that built Egypt from the Bight of Biafra, still Bantu region between Nigeria and Cameroon. Abasi or Abacus, as the Chinese, Arabic, and European system of mathematics, calculus, and astronomy is the name of the god of wisdom or education in southern Nigeria today. It's not a coincidence that 50 to 60% of African Americans and African Brazilians, even Cubans, were plucked from the Bight of Biafra and Bight of Benin, where Bantu originated from, between Nigeria and Cameroon. Based on this reasoning, one will say, without Nigeria, there will be no new world of America. How I wish they knew that. Imagine, this was 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th century. The Europeans, as a world power, could take people from India, China, Middle East. The question is, why West Africa? These two Bantu countries dominate the genes of every human in every country on earth today. This area was the epicenter of the transatlantic slavery from the slave coast. And Calabar Port, formerly the first capital of Nigeria, often referred to as Canaan by the colonialists or the land of Ephraim, and capital of the Leopard Society of West Africa and origin of the Kabbalah, Kabbal, and Tree of Life, was described by the British as the most notorious port from which most of the slaves stolen were used to establish the American continent. Even in Fibonacci sequence, the golden spiral placed Nigeria as the eye and womb of Africa. It shows a migration pattern from Nigeria, Cameroon to the Central Africa, to North Africa, then to East Africa, then finally to the Southern African continent. The golden spiral is the symbol of time and the golden age, when the gods descend to mingle with the seeds of men to produce giants as rulers and geniuses to govern the earth from Atlantis. This is the greatest secret of all times, the secret upon which all mystery religions were founded. The origin of all civilizations to ever exist on earth has always been Nigeria. Hitler's exploit of the German origin took him to the doorstep of this place, southwest Cameroon and Calabar, and he called the Bar people and that geographical location a heaven and the gates of heaven. Even Germany's military symbol is the leopard. According to Bright's Insights on YouTube channel, on the lost city of Atlantis hidden in plain sight, he said, not only did it exist, its location was West Africa on land and not in the depths of the ocean somewhere, as many thought. According to Plato's description, amongst others, the god Poseidon gave birth to 5 sets of twins. Each one of those 10 children went on to rule 10 kingdoms. Guess the part of the world with the highest sets of twins per capita? It's Nigeria. This mystery was known by the Europeans long, and Nigeria over the years have been covered in mud to protect the secret. In Nigeria, some tribes have oral tradition extending 3 million years ago into the beginning of mankind. The reason why China will never replace America is this one secret. Whilst in America, Nigeria and Africa, as roots of civilization, was used to establish it as its lifeblood, in China, the reverse is the case. Nigeria will not only dethrone America in the near future because it's her destiny, it will also take away its people, the American lifeblood, and distribute them to Africa. But I'm willing to bet it will not go down without a fight, a final battle that will seal the fate of America forever. Don't be surprised if in the future Africa loans America money to survive. Life is full of mysteries. Even the yearly storms and hurricanes that pounds America emanate from this region. In West Africa, the Bight of Biafra, where Nigeria is one of the countries. Going back to the Leopard Society of West Africa, the leopard spirit, or the spirit of the black leopard itself, headquartered in Calabar, Nigeria, is the symbol of the new world, the symbol of royalty, and the symbol of the sacred birth. A green world, a green revolution, and the symbol of the all-seeing eye. That mystical eye is not in America, it's not in Egypt, but it's in Nigeria. Once again, watch out for 2030, the start of Africa's golden age. By 2040, 2050s, and 2060s, it's expected that tens of millions of people around the world must have moved to Africa to mark this renaissance that is coming. The spiral, as Cronus' sickle, is a symbol of the sun and the golden age. One thing is clear: the new Mecca, the new Jerusalem, and the new Babel are all one. The eternal ones and future capital of the world. The origin of Kaaba, the black cube, the house of God, the new kingdom, and the seat of the future United Nations, light and guide of the new world, the actual one. There is a saying in Nigeria: any country you go to and there is no Nigerian, that place is lifeless. At this point, it's clear that the role of Europe and America was merely the one of a forerunner, like John the Baptist, who bore witness to Christ. Africa is that Christ, the home of Christ, as Christ is a leader. Now more than ever, a convergence is gathering momentum as the poles shift. The geomagnetic shift from the global north to the global south, a new revelation, a transformation that will come to a complete end-run by the year 3000 AD, when all things become one again. It is estimated that by this time, there will be just one race, the black race, on earth, the whole earth, and one language on earth, whose culture is peace and love. Once again, the great return of not just African Americans, but the world had already started. From 2015, the year of migration, but will gain momentum in the 2030s, 2040s, and 2050s, when there will be a mass exodus to Africa. Remember, he promised to bring us home, and that promise he shall keep, even if it means applying nature's force to let America let us go. But America's fall is not yet until the truth is known by all, and the hope of a new nation, the hope of mankind, arises out of the ashes of the dark continent. The future technology that will be unlocked in Africa will make that of China and the United States to look like child's play. From Senegal to Kenya, from Ethiopia to Southern Africa, I see Google and a host of other new high-tech companies of the future established in Africa that will drive humanity to the sacred promised land, the actual new world. I beheld the glorious picture of Nigeria and Senegal and others, and I knew, even though the black-skinned people are suffering now, there is hope more than we can imagine. Let me reiterate myself once again. I know it's said the future is China and India, yes, but for the world to know true peace, love and equality, and communal brotherhood, Africa must take over and pilot the future. It's her destiny. It's written in her future. Africa is the new Colossus, the Golden Gate. At this point, one will ask, can any good thing ever come out of Africa? To answer this question properly, I would like us to take a trip into the past. How many people in the world know that the man who created the internet is a Nigerian. That is undoubtedly the greatest invention of all time. His name is Philip Emeagwali. Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him the father of the internet. Bill Clinton called him one of the greatest minds of the information age. I bet 99.9% of the users of YouTube and Google didn't know this fact. Even the World Wide Web wouldn't have existed without him. Also, Elon Musk, founder of Tesla, was born in Pretoria, South Africa, before relocating to Canada and then the United States of America. Also, according to the United States Bureau of Statistics and Census, Nigerians are the most educated immigrant community in America, far outstripping the whites and Asians. You find not just them, but Africans generally, as top executives and creative directors in the top high-tech companies in America, including Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, and Alphabet. If a few can do that in America, imagine when the potentials of Africans in the African continent is unlocked and allowed to thrive. It will be a thing of wonder to the world. In my opinion, the future of technology and high-tech companies will be Africa. And we are undeniably approaching that time. This might include the knowledge of eternal youth and interdimensional travel. It said, in order to know what will happen in the future, look at what happened in the past. At this time, a century ago, there were technological breakthroughs, the application of the quantum entanglement theory of Einstein and Bohr, from missiles to lasers to satellite development, including transistors, computers, disks, as well as innovation in airplanes and fighter jets. Therefore, in the 2030s and 2040s, expect a science and technological revolution in air and space travels, also in digital and quantum computers in Africa. The continent will begin to lead the world in the development of new forms of energy to power future cities and automobiles, as well as strides in artificial intelligence, including prime chips and holographic phones. Outside of the high-tech realm, in the 2030s and 2040s, was the time the Nazi rose to power in Germany, precisely in 1933. And just like it happened in Germany and much of Europe, expect the rise in populism and racial nationalism once again as a result of hardship, which will trigger mass populism and racial nationalism. It will trigger migration of people to other nations, mostly to Africa. In America, there was the Great Depression in the 1930s. Therefore, in the 2030s, this situation might also engender crisis and mass migration of Americans to other regions, but mostly to Africa. This is because this time a century ago, African liberation struggle started. Because this time a century ago, their human civil rights began, the financial freedom of Africa began, the education of Africa began. All of Africa, even in America itself, where the African Americans strove to receive their freedom, their civil rights from the white people. So expect a boom in the 2030s and 2040s and 2050s up to the 2060s. And Africa will undoubtedly lead the world in the coming century. And Africa is undoubtedly the world hero. If you like the videos, please subscribe. My name once again is Ariking Omini, the host of today's topic in the World Teacher TV series. And thank you.